Welcome, Ms. Brown, and welcome, Makia. Very, very nice to have you on the show. Many thanks. So before we get started, each of y'all will have a minute to just explain your position. We didn't get to choose who goes first just yet, so we'll play a little game. I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10. Who can guess?
I'm going to say 5.
I'm going to say 7.
Okay, it was 7. Wow, okay. Makia. All right, by all means, you have 1 minute to explain your position in support of Initiative 83.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Makia Green. I'm a Ward 7 resident and a community organizer for Black Liberation. And I support Initiative 83 because it is about making politicians work harder for our votes and ensuring a more representative, equitable system. We keep hearing arguments from people who benefit from the status quo, but I'm here to tell you that I'm here for people for the system isn't working, right? We know that we in Ward 7, about maybe 65% of voters, our votes ended up not counting. And so we need ranked choice voting so that more people, not just independents, but independents who are young people, who are people of color, who are working class people, can have a say in the taxpayer funded election that happens in our primaries. I've been a longtime support of Initiative 83 back when it was Rank the Vote, when we were just a group of neighbors who were coming together to say our current election system isn't working. And in order for DC to be a district that people can stay here, that people can thrive here, we need an electoral system that reflects that. And so I'm in deep support of Initiative 83, of ranked choice voting, and semi-open primaries.
Give thanks, Ms. Brown.
Good to see you. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm the chair of Vote No Initiative 83. We are a grassroots organization that was formed to educate the public about the truth and facts about Initiative 83. Make All Votes Count DC has been spreading propaganda like in their name, Make All Votes Count. Well, you just heard the BOE, Sarah, say that all votes are counted in our current system. However, under ranked choice voting, the way that they wrote the legislation, because the Board of Election does not write the legislation, the proposers of the initiative did. On page 2, there's definitions for an inactive ballot. An inactive ballot is when you overvote, undervote, or skip a vote. And then on page 4, it says that if any of those things happen, your vote is not counted for, and it uses the word any, A-N-Y, any candidate. And so under ranked choice voting, research shows that votes are cast out. And in particular, it normally is those of people of color, seniors, and those with disabilities who aren't able to complete the ballot without doing overvoting, undervoting, or skip voting. So that's the reason why we are asking people to vote no. Thank you.
All right, much appreciated. So we can jump right into it. The floor is open. If Ms. Brown wouldn't mind going first, what's your level of engagement? And this is for both of y'all. So what's been your level of engagement with the community? What are you hearing from the community as it relates to Initiative 83?
We have been working with the community out. We got established in January. Since then, I've done over 20 or more debates and or presentations, sometimes with the other side, sometimes not, in churches, community, civic associations, ANC meetings, trying to engage people. And what we're overwhelmingly hearing is people are saying that they do not understand Initiative 83. They don't know what ranked choice voting is, and they certainly don't know what semi-closed primary means. And so there is a huge level of education that needs to happen because before people go to the polls. And so we're encouraging people to get the facts before they vote.
Thank you. Ms. Green.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been organizing for ranked choice voting for years now. I think within the last 2 weeks, me and my folks have talked to at least 200 people in the streets. actually going to places where folks are at grocery stores, having conversations with folks, explaining their voting plan, and people understand ranked choice voting. And it's important to name who are these people. Seniors understand ranked choice voting. Young people understand ranked choice voting. 60% of young people identify as independent voters. They understand that this initiative would actually bring more people into civic engagement. So I would say when it comes to community organizing, we're out there in the streets talking to people. And also we have over 145 DC donors. That's about 6 times as much as the Vote No initiative campaign. And that's of course as the last time I checked, because I'm more so talking to people versus looking at people's financials and asking questions there. And then to talk about exhausted ballots, it can be so confusing. But right now, if your candidate doesn't win, your vote is already exhausted. So it can be a little bit of a distraction to say that with ranked choice voting, your vote doesn't count. It's more votes. You have more choice. You have more opportunity to share your preference.
Understood. Follow-up question for you, Ms. Green. As best as you can explain, what was the rationale for combining ranked choice voting and open primaries into one ballot initiative?
Right. I mean, I think a big piece for me when it's a question we get all the time is that more voice, more choice. If we're serious about representation, if we want to talk about taxation without representation, we're going to have to open the door for more people to participate in the taxpayer funded election. Right? 70,000 independents pay taxes and pay for the primary election that they are not able to vote in. So it makes the most sense for us to have semi-open primaries as well as ranked choice voting if we're saying we want to give people more opportunity to get their voices heard.
And like, what is your response to people who have some sort of fear about Republican Party intrusion on Democratic Party politics?
That is so real. One is to name that an independent is not a Republican. That's the whole reason folks register as independents, because they're not Republicans. I think for people who are afraid of that, I would look at who are the people who are speaking out against ranked choice voting nationally. That's the Heritage Foundation. That's the authors of Project 2025. If you are worried about Republican or conservative interest having an impact in our elections, you might want to look at who are the folks who don't want more diversity and more choice in our elections.
All right, without doubt, and I appreciate that you brought up the national scope because I do have questions for both of y'all in that regard. I wanted to pivot to Ms. Brown real quick. In regards to low voter turnout, if not I-83, what alternative do we have to increase voter turnout?
Thank you for the question. And I also want to first follow up on some of the comments that were just made, because we can't let falsehoods stand. Once again, as far as the donors, let's talk about the money. Let's follow the money. They have raised over $464,000. 82% of that have come from outside PACs and corporations. The biggest donors being Fair Vote Action PAC and All One God's Faith Inc. by Dr. Broner in California. 100% of our Vote No Initiative 83 money has come from DC residents. No corporations, no PACs in or outside of the city. 3%, the 165 people she said, that's 3% of how many DC residents have donated to their campaign. So we want to make sure we have the facts right on that. Exhausted ballot is different from an inactive ballot. An inactive ballot, as described in their own legislation, is when you overvote, undervote, or skip a vote. Exhausted ballot is a different theory about if you rank all these people and then later as the tabulations are going through, the people that you rank no longer are in contention. Two separate issues. The way their legislation is written, if you have an inactive ballot, you overvoted, undervoted, or skipped a vote, the language states that your ballot is not counted for any candidate, and it uses the word any. We believe that they included ranked choice voting and semi-closed primaries together because they did not think they were going to get a fight. They thought they were going to come in here and do a 2-for-1 and push this through, and no one was going to be paying attention to this. Ranked choice voting has been shown to, once again, suppress the Black and brown vote, those of seniors and those with disabilities. And so the idea that we need to change who is sitting in the Wilson building or who's sitting in our executive office, the question becomes, what are we changing that to? We have a very diverse council. We have a history of having a diverse executive office, including people of color and women. And so this idea that they want to come in and use the system to circumvent and change our electoral system is that's not going to happen without a fight. We haven't had a chance to talk about the independent voters. So I just want to remind people that the primary election is when the parties, the Green Party, Republican Party, and the Democratic Party picks the candidate that represents their values and their platforms and is presented in a general election. So it's a nomination election. And so if you have decided that you want to be independent, you're unaffiliated with any of the parties, you do not get to vote in a Democratic primary, Republican primary, or Green Party primary based on our Home Rule Act. And so this is just an attempt to circumvent home rule. And anyone who understands home rule and how important it is, because it's the only one sliver that DC has in our autonomy and our overall electoral process. If you understand that, then you know that an attack on home rule is an attack on DC statehood. And this is one of the reasons why we are asking people to vote no.
No doubt. So I would allow Ms. Green some time to respond to that question. Well, to that response before we move on to the next question.
Sure. So it's important to know about the fact that when we talk about taxation without representation, again, 60% of young people identify as independent voters. These are folks, we believe that if you pay taxes in DC, you should be able to vote in the most consequential election we have all year. If you identify as an independent voter, I'll even give an example. I organize around criminal justice reform. I work with a lot of formerly incarcerated folks. One of my closest friends, when he got out from 20 years inside, he registered to vote. He was so excited. Everyone, we made TikToks. We were all excited for his first time to vote. He sat down with both of the candidates in Ward 7. He walked up to the back, and they turned him away because he's an independent voter. We're saying to 1 in 6 people, your voice does not count to us. I believe that for taxation representation, people should be able to vote. And I think that if we're talking about how are we going to bring people in, we can't keep telling them what they can't do. The whole point of civic engagement is to use the system to organize your people for a freer world. You can't keep telling people, oh, your voice doesn't count. We don't want you to organize. We don't want you to talk to your community about what can be different. I want to see a lot different. I've organized for public campaign financing to make sure that that bill passed and that we got money for that. I think that there's so much more that we can do, allowing young people to vote. I think that we could have more seats on the council. We need more representation. We have 13 council members. They speak over a $16 billion budget. We need more voice. We need more say.
So I'm going to play an audible real quick. It's a football term. Now, my understanding is that, of course, I'm speaking as a native Washingtonian. My understanding is that on both sides, there appears to be some out-of-town influence in your campaigns. As far as leadership and vote no, there's some Republican influence. And my understanding is, as far as yes for Initiative 83, those efforts were bolstered with the help of people who live in DC but have roots elsewhere. Could y'all speak to the level of local influence on your campaigns and the degree to which native-born Washingtonians empathize with your cause?
So, Sam, I want to do 2 things. One, I need to quickly fact check Makia. If you go to the polls on a primary or any day in the District of Columbia, you can change your party affiliation the day of. So if you want to mail in your ballot and change your party affiliation, you have to do it 21 days beforehand. However, you can walk in on the day of election in any polling center and change your party affiliation. So no one will be turned away. if they were willing to change their party affiliation. But if you're saying that you don't want to be a member of any of the three parties because you do not share their values, then you do not get to vote in their primary nominations. As far as make all votes count started probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it really has ramped up trying to link us to Republicans. Bill Pinnell said it at a church event the other day. Kenyatta Smith then repeated it. And then the other night, Brandon McGowan went so far as to say on the record that Make All Vote No on Initiative 83 was working with the founders of Project 2025 and working with the organizers of Heritage Foundation. So I'm going to ask that people not repeat such libel and defamation quotes, because all it does is distract from what the issue is. We are not working with the Republicans. We don't work with Project 2025 or the Heritage Foundation. Once again, we are started as a grassroots organization, mostly with local organizations who have all gotten together, local leaders, and we
Which
are
local organizations?
The Metropolitan Women's Democratic Club, DC Women in Politics, the Federation of Democratic Women, the Women's Democratic Club. I mean, a bunch of organizations, smaller organizations. We're not working with someone in California who's giving us $400,000. We're local grassroots volunteers. All of our volunteers are just that, volunteers, unpaid. We're not paying anyone. These are people who understand the issue and are very worried about their voting rights and their neighbors' voting rights. 100% of our donations, 100% of our volunteers are here in the district. Okay. This idea that you can bring in big money, big corporations, and try to influence our elections is a problem. They're using Black faces as the front, but the people who are running it behind are these people who don't even live here.
All right, let's allow Ms. Green some time to respond to that, if that's cool. Ms. Green, if you can just speak to the degree of support and involvement among Native Washingtonians.
Right. I would say the campaign directors are Native Washingtonians, east of the river Washingtonians. We have, like I said, my shirt is Rank the Vote DC because we're a local coalition that wanted to make this change. We are full of Native Washingtonians and DC residents and people who love the city. I'm grateful to be in this city, and I'm happy to continue to support to make it a space where people can stay here. I think that when it can be really confusing to say, confuse us with other meetings and other events, but let's be clear with the facts. The Heritage Foundation has published, dozens of articles with the same talking points as the Vote No Initiative 83. I actually can't speak to your funding. I'm not going to speak to who's behind you or not. All I know is that I don't support things that the Heritage Foundation supports. I don't support things that Trump supports, or that red states are preemptively trying to pare down. I support things that DC residents have said time and time again that they want. I support things that are going to bring a diverse voting and young people into the election. So I totally understand that kind of confusion, but these are the same talking points as the Heritage Foundation.
I just want to thank Makia Green, representing Yes on 83, and Ms. Deirdre Brown, Vote No on Initiative 83, for joining us today. I really wish we had more time, but alas, that's what happens. If allowed, I would definitely like to have both sides to just provide closing comments, something for us to chew on in the days leading up to the election. Makia, please go first.
I'd love to. I just want to say, for folks that are supportive of Yes on 83, make sure to turn your ballot over, vote yes. When you hear our opposition, when you hear someone talk to you all day about what you can't change in the city, recognize that they benefit from the system as it currently stands. Okay? We deserve change, and we're going to win. So turn it over. Yes on 83, more voice and more choice.
Yes, thanks. Ms. Brown?
Thank you. First and foremost, I need everyone to go to voteno83.com. We have a 10-minute presentation that goes over the facts about Initiative 83. Listen, I'm not at all concerned about them trying to link us to the red states or Trump or whatever, because anyone who has eyes can see that I, a Black woman in the District of Columbia, would be the last person to benefit from Project 2025 or anything the Heritage Foundation has to say. We all see this as the propaganda machine it is to deflect from the issues. The issue is you should vote no because, one, it suppresses the Black and brown vote. Those are seniors and those with disabilities. Two, we believe that if independents want to vote in the primary, then they should party register. And three, we are against any organizational effort that has over $400,000, 82% of their money coming from outside special interest PACs and corporations. So please go to voteno83.com and get the facts before you vote. Thank you.
All right, many thanks to Makia Green and Deirdre Brown for their time. I really hope that the audience got all that they could out of this exchange. Back to DRB. Many thanks, y'all.